गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपीजनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय गोपीजनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जामिश्रपाद परमंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जामिश्रपाद परमंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय। श्री श्री गौरनिताय की जय। जगत गुरु शील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21, text number 29 and 30. Text number 29 has no purport, so I'll read it by myself. Text 30, we will chant together. Yata atma bhritam vidyam navadha prasabhishyati vidye tvadiye rishaya adhasyantyanja. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. She will bring forth 9 daughters from the seed sown in her by you, and through the daughters you beget, the sages will duly beget children. Text number 30. We will chant this together. Tvam cha samyak anusthaya, tvam cha samyak anusthaya, tvam cha samyak anusthaya, nidesham ma ushattamaha, nidesham ma ushattamaha, nidesham ma ushattamaha, mai tirthi krita ashesha, mai tirthi krita ashesha, mai tirthi krita ashesha, kriya artho mam prapatsyase, kriyartho mam prapatsyase, kriyartho mam prapatsyase, tvam cha samyak anusthaya, nidesham aushattamaha, mai tirthi krita shesha, kriyartho mam prapatsyase, tvam cha samyak anusthaya, nidesham aushattamaha, mai tirthi krita shesha, kriyartho mam prapatsyase. Tvam, you, cha, and, samyak, properly, anusthaya, having carried out, nidesham, command, me, my, ushattamaha, completely cleansed, mai, unto me, tirthi krita, having resigned, ashesha, all, kriya, of actions, arthaha, the fruits, mam, to me, prapatsyase, you will attain. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. With your heart cleansed by properly carrying out my command, resigning to me the fruits of all your acts, you will finally attain to me. Kindly repeat. With your heart cleansed by properly carrying out my command, resigning to me the fruits of all your acts, you will finally attain to me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here the words Tirthi Kritashesha Kriyarthaha are significant. Tirtha means a sanctified place where charity is given. People used to go to places of pilgrimage and give munificently in charity. This system is still current. Therefore, the Lord said, in order to sanctify your activities and the results of your actions, you will offer everything unto me. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you sacrifice, the result should be given to me only. In another place in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices, all penances, and everything done for the welfare of mankind or society. All activities, therefore, whether for the welfare of family, society, country, or humanity at large, must be performed in Krishna consciousness. That is the instruction given by the Lord to Kardama Muni. Maharaj Yudhishthira welcomed Narada Muni. Wherever you are present, that place becomes sanctified because the Lord Himself is always seated in your heart. Similarly, if we act in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Lord and His representative, then everything is sanctified. This is the indication given to Kardama Muni, who acted on it and therefore received the most excellent wife and child, as will be disclosed in later verses. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanachalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Ananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mokam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. Lord Vishnu is instructing Kardama Muni. Me nidesham tvam samyak anushtaya cha ushattamaha. Me nidesham, my instructions, anushtaya, by carrying out, tvam cha ushattamaha, you will become purified, you will become cleansed. Kriyartha mai ashesha kriyartha mai tirthi krita mam prapatsyase. Ashesha kriyartha, ashesha means nothing else is remaining. Shesha means something is left out, something is balanced. Ashesha means nothing else is left, means completely. Ashesha kriya artha, without any, without leaving out any activity, without leaving out the fruits of any activity. Kriya, activity, artha means fruit of the activity. Without excluding any fruit of your activities, ashesha kriyartha, mai tirthi krita, by surrendering all the fruits unto me without any exclusion, mam prapatsyase, you will finally attain to me. This is Lord Vishnu's instruction to Kardama Muni, and Lord Vishnu is foretelling what will happen in the future. That in the future, Karada Muni will follow Lord Vishnu's instructions very perfectly. Karada Muni will surrender the fruits of all his actions without any exception. All the fruits of his actions he will surrender to the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and by so doing, he will attain Lord Vishnu. That is Lord Vishnu's instruction as well as his prediction. It's both. When we say Tirthi Kritaha, Prabhupada is translating. Tirthi Krita is translated as having resigned. Tirthi Kritaha means having converted it into a Tirtha. The word Tirtha generally refers to a place of pilgrimage. So, when we say Kriya Arthaha Tirthi Krita, all the fruits of the activities are Tirthi Kritaha, are converted into pilgrimage. Literally, if you see, that's what it means. But Prabhupada is wonderfully explaining what it actually means. Tirtha means, going on pilgrimage means, generally people today think pilgrimage means either it's a picnic or a sightseeing. If you look at Vrindavan, many people come to Vrindavan, especially on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, from Delhi NCR region. It's close by, 140 kilometers. Nowadays roads are very good. 2.5 hours, maximum 2 hours you can be in Vrindavan. Earlier it used to take 3 hours, 4 hours. Now the infrastructure has improved. Anyway, from Delhi, one corner of Delhi to go to another corner, you will take 2 hours. So in the same 2 hours, you can come to Vrindavan. The main attraction in coming to Vrindavan is, apart from Banke Bihari, outside Banke Bihari temple, there are all the shops selling aloo tikki and all kinds of chaat items and sweets. And people come to, taste that. The main pull is that. So they come and they think, good, we'll go and have darshan of Lord Krishna also, Banke Bihari ji also. And then we will go and nicely have some chaat items. And of course, the lassi of Vrindavan, so famous. And the sweets and Mathura Peda and all that. The main attraction is they come there for nicely to have a nice, dinner and enjoy themselves, a little picnic. If you go towards Haridwar is again another place of pilgrimage, which is also about 4.5 hours from Delhi. That's another destination for many people of Delhi. You can see weekends, the road to Haridwar will be jam-packed, lot of vehicles. So they go there, and in Haridwar what they do, Har Ki Pauri they go, they take a bath in the Gangaji. After that, they are coming on a Saturday morning, so till Sunday evening they have time. There are many water amusement parks coming up there along the way. And they have these, what is that, rafting. Rafting is another big tourism industry there. So all the places of pilgrimage are becoming big tourism industry centers. People find it, good opportunity to go, have either a picnic or good place to eat something. That's how it has become today's world. But Prabhupada is saying, actual pilgrimage means not only just go there and take a bath in the holy river there. Either take a bath in the Gangaji or take a bath in the Yamunaji. But it doesn't stop there. One has to, the whole intention of going to a place of pilgrimage, going on Tirtha Yatra, is for one's self-purification. Self-purification. So that's the reason for going. So the activity of self-purification begins with dana. charity. One has to go to a place of pilgrimage, and when one takes bath in the Yamunaji or Gangaji, once all sinful reactions of the past life are washed away. But then, one's existence is still not purified. The money that one has earned, generally when we earn money, there will be some amount of sinful activity involved in any kind of endeavor to earn money. So one's wealth has to get purified, one's existence has to get purified. Existence meaning we are always in the bodily concept of life and taking repeated birth and death within this material world. So if we want to become liberated, we want to stop this cycle of birth, death, disease and old age, then we have to get out of this contamination of the bodily concept of life. And so for that, to purify our existence, we need to give in dana, we need to give in charity. Giving in charity was an integral component of the Vedic civilization, primarily because it helps one to overcome the bodily concept of life. One is attached to the wealth one has earned with a lot of endeavor. And when that wealth to which we are attached to, you are giving it away in charity, then gradually vairagya, detachment will come. And that will in turn slowly give you transcendental knowledge that you are not the body, you are a spirit soul. This is the whole Vedic way of working. So, Tirtha means a place where you go and do dana. That means you give away, you renounce. And so therefore, Tirthi Krita Ashesha Krita. Ashesha Krita Artha. So when the Lord Vishnu is saying, you will, by following all my instructions, you will convert all the results of your actions into tirtha. Tirthi krita means you will convert into tirtha, meaning you will renounce the fruits of your actions. That is what Lord Vishnu is meaning. And that is why the translation of tirthi krita ashesha kriyartha, resigning to me the fruits of all your acts. See how wonderfully Prabhupada has given the explanation of this. Otherwise, we will be going in circles thinking, how can results of our actions be made into pilgrimage? So the real meaning is to give up, to renounce, to give away the fruits of one's actions. To whom? To the Supreme Lord, to Vishnu. Now, Prabhupada is mentioning here in the purport that the words Tirthi Krita Shesha Kriyarthaha are significant here. And because in order to be able to Mam Prapatsyase, in order to be able to attain the Supreme Lord Vishnu, there are two things which are mentioned here in this verse. One is, of course, Tirthi Krita Shesha Kriyarthaha. All the fruits of one's actions, one has to give up. One has to give up to whom? To the Supreme Lord Vishnu. That's the first criterion to Mam Prapatsyase, to attain Vishnu. The second criterion is Ma Nidesham Samyag Anusthaya. So, one, by following the instructions, by properly carrying out my command, what happens? Heart gets cleansed. So these are the two things that are needed to cleanse one's heart. First is all the fruits of all the results of one's actions, we have to surrender to Krishna. Ashesha, little bit, small percentage I'll go give to Krishna, little I'll keep for myself. No. Ashesha, not even 0.1% should be with me. All the results should be surrendered to Krishna. That will cleanse my heart, coupled with Ma Nidesham Samyag Anusthaya, by properly carrying out Krishna's command. And Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, if we act in Krishna consciousness, under the direction of the Lord and his representative, then everything is sanctified. So here, because Lord Vishnu is directly instructing Kardama Muni, he has told him, you have to follow my command. But we are not as elevated as Kardama Muni. So for us, what is the instruction to follow? We have to follow the instruction of the spiritual master. A pure devotee spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada gives various instructions to the disciples for their spiritual elevation, with the final goal of attaining Mam Prapatsyase, final goal of attaining Krishna. Therefore, the instructions of the spiritual master or Krishna can never be disobeyed under any circumstances. Prabhupada in one place says that there can be no situation where we say, sorry, I cannot follow your instruction, whether it is Krishna's or Prabhupada's instruction. Prabhupada says the moment we say that, we are fallen. A disciple, if we have accepted somebody as our spiritual master, then there is no question of saying that, no, I'm sorry, I cannot follow your instruction. Generally, what happens is in the material world, especially in the current day, everyone is taught, everyone is oriented towards becoming independent. You have to become independent. You should not follow what others are saying. You should have your own views. You should not simply go by others' instructions. You should decide what you want to do. You should have the freedom of choice. This is highly valued in today's world. The system of democracy has come out because of this very mood that we should be able to decide who has to rule us. We want to be able to decide who has what kind of policy should be brought into force, what kind of governance system we want. All that we should be able to decide. Therefore, democracy, once every 5 years, 6 years or whatever, we will all together vote and we will decide who has to govern us, who has to rule us, whether this person's policies and the laws that he has enacted, we feel okay with that or not. If you don't feel okay, we'll vote you out of power, we'll bring somebody else who is opposing you back to power. This whole and the whole fulcrum of democracy is freedom to all the citizens. They should have the freedom to do what they want. They should have the freedom of speech, the freedom of choice, the freedom of what work they want to do, what kind of religion they want to follow, what kind of lifestyle they want to have, whether a person wants to give in charity or not, how you wants to enjoy. Everything is left to the individual's choice. The individual's choice is given the utmost importance. It is very highly valued in the current day world. But then the Vedic civilization has a different outlook. In a civilization such as the modern civilization, where the whole focus is on sense gratification, everything is measured in terms of sense gratification, the facilities for sense gratification, there, in such a consciousness, the freedom of choice may appear a very good proposal. It may appear to be a very good policy. But then the Vedic civilization was not interested in how to increase the conveniences for sense gratification. Sense gratification was considered very tuchcha. It is the most insignificant thing. That is not the real goal of the human form of life. That sense gratification, what you want, is already available even in the animals like dogs and hogs' lives. So in human life, what is the use of making big arrangements of the same thing? So human life is meant for spiritual elevation, developing love of Godhead. So with that as the goal, in the Vedic civilization, every system, whether it was the governance, the ruling, whatever it is, everything was oriented towards that. So therefore, if we want to progress spiritually, if we want to advance spiritually, what is required? We need transcendental knowledge. Somebody has to teach us the path of spiritual elevation. Because spiritual elevation, our connection with God, doesn't come on its own. It's not dependent on the way I choose. It's not dependent on my choice. Just like if I want to develop a relationship with the Prime Minister of the country, how is it possible? If I try on my own, it is not possible. But if the Prime Minister has given a way how to connect with him, there is a portal, there is a website, there's a particular box, you can go there, you have to register yourself, then you can put your comments, then it will go to the Prime Minister and then the Prime Minister will respond. Like this, you can communicate with the Prime Minister. We have to communicate with a great personality. When we are in a subordinate position, we have to communicate with a person in a superior position according to the way which has been formulated by the senior person. I cannot say that, no, I want freedom of my choice. I want to decide how I want to communicate with my senior. No. I have to follow the way he has formulated. This is the way you have to communicate with me. He has set a process. You have to follow that. Now, similarly, if we want to communicate and we want to develop our relationship with the Supreme Lord, if we want to develop love of Godhead, if we want to go back to God's kingdom, then we have to ask, what is the process that the Supreme Lord has set forth? And if we want to learn what is that process, how to connect with that Supreme Lord, then you need the guidance of somebody who is very close and who knows the mind of God. And so, therefore, unless we have a pure devotee guiding us and instructing us, this is how you have to do the things. You cannot go back to God. And Krishna, the Supreme Lord, what does he expect from us? He expects and he demands total surrender. Only then is he willing to reveal himself and to re-establish our lost relationship with him. Without that aspect of total surrender, Krishna is unwilling to have anything to do with us. So, when we say total surrender means readiness without any hesitancy to follow every instruction of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, there can be no situation where we can say, no, sorry, I cannot do this. Now, if I have to learn to become totally surrendered to the Supreme Lord, now I have to get trained, because I have been trained in the opposite way. I have been trained to become independent and do what I feel like doing. Forget about what others think. So, now I have to reverse my whole conditioning that I have got into in this material world. I have to reverse that conditioning and come to the situation where I will say, whatever you say, I am ready to do, whether I like it or not. So, if I have to come to that now, my training cannot happen by going to the Supreme Lord and then he will tell something, I follow that, then half I follow, half I don't follow, then the Lord has to again correct me, and my whole training goes on like that. So that cannot happen. Somebody else has to first train me. If I need to know how to talk to the Prime Minister and how to, just like you see when every year the government announces various awards like Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan and all that. Now, when those awardees, when a person, it is announced that so-and-so person, XYZ, has got the Padma Shri or the Padma Bhushan award, then what happens is, before the actual award ceremony takes place, there is a lot of activity that happens. All the awardees are called to the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and a trial is taken. They are trained how to receive the award, where they have to sit, how they have to walk, and what is the cue for them to get up and start walking from their seat, and which direction, where they have to go and stand, and when the president hands over the award, how to receive it, how long to stand there, and wait for all the photographs to be taken. All these things are trained. and they take several sessions, train everyone, and that's how you see when the ceremony happens, every awardee, when his name is called, he will come in a particular way, he'll come and stand in a particular place, where exactly he has to stand, he knows, he comes and stands, the way they receive and the way they go back, everything is coordinated. Now, if this much has to happen, a lot of training should have happened beforehand. You cannot expect that, okay, I got the award, I'll go there and I'll try out. If some mistake happens, let the president train me at that time, correct me, then I'll go and redo. You cannot do that. So, training has to happen offline. It has to happen before the event. Similarly, our relationship with Krishna, we cannot go to the spiritual world and start making mistakes and learn there. We have to be trained here. And so when the training has to happen here, who does the training? The Supreme Lord, Krishna, has delegated it to the spiritual master. So the prime duty, the most important duty of the spiritual master is to train the disciples how to relate with the Supreme Lord, how to act in one's relationship with the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Therefore, the spiritual master like Prabhupada, when they come, they demand total surrender unto themselves. We have to surrender fully to the spiritual master. When we get trained how to surrender fully to the spiritual master and obey every command of the spiritual master implicitly, then what happens? We become ready to go and connect with the Supreme Lord directly. Then that same surrender gets transferred to him. Now, even the spiritual master is not an ordinary person. The spiritual master is also a very great person. There also, to the spiritual master, you cannot go and commit mistakes. If we go and tell the spiritual master, sorry, I cannot follow your instruction, I have a different opinion, I disagree, let us agree to disagree. All these things, if you tell to the spiritual master, it will become an aparadha. Your spiritual life will get spoiled. So what happens is, the spiritual master sets a hierarchy, he sets like Srila Prabhupada set a wonderful institution, where there are devotees and I am doing my service and I have my superior to whom I report to. So, if I have to develop that kind of surrender attitudes towards the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord, then I also have to express the similar kind of mood of obeying the instructions to my superior also. So, whether to Krishna or to the spiritual master or to my superior, to anybody if I say that, sorry, I cannot follow your instruction, I disagree, I am not ready to follow, then that means our disease is not cured. Then it will take a long time for us to develop spiritually and go back to Godhead. So what will happen if with that mood I go and surrender to Prabhupada? Prabhupada will say, just like in English, Prabhupada used to give this example many times. If you love me, then first love my dog. That's the principle. So, if I go to Prabhupada with a mood of lack of surrender towards my superior devotee, what Prabhupada will say? Before coming and surrender to me, first you learn how to surrender to him. So, first you do your thing properly wherever you are, then you come to me. So, we have to understand the first qualification of a disciple is without any hesitancy, readiness to follow every instruction, whether I like it or not. This is the example set forth by Arjuna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Initially, he was not willing to fight, but when he understood Krishna wants the fight, although Arjuna in his heart, he had no heart to fight, he had no inclination to fight, he had no desire to fight, he did not want to fight, he disliked the war. But when he understood that Krishna wants this, he said, okay, if Krishna you want, I am ready, I'll fight. Although I don't like it, I'll still fight. This mood we have to develop is very, very important if we have to go back to Godhead. If we retain our disease of I will do only what I like and I will not do what I dislike, then we have to understand that our liking and disliking is according to the influence of the three modes of material nature. So therefore, my activities will continue to remain under the jurisdiction of the three modes of material nature. In other words, whatever I am doing will continue to remain material. If I have to develop spiritually and go back to Godhead, all my activities have to become spiritual. If they have to become spiritual, then what is required? My actions have to be beyond the three modes of material nature. The only way to ensure that my actions are beyond the three modes of material nature is to learn how to follow instructions despite my likings or dislikings. If I am very fortunate, the instruction which I receive will be according to my liking. That is my good fortune. If if due to some reason I get an instruction which I don't like to follow, that is an even greater fortune. Why? Because I can practice coming out of the influence of the three modes of material nature. So the the whole design of the process of bhakti, devotional service, is in such a way that it trains us how to overcome the influence of the three modes of material nature and surrender to the Supreme Lord. Now the question comes, why should I surrender? Why can't I maintain my independence? Why is the Supreme Lord demanding that we surrender? Doesn't it look nice that we have an independence and we can do what we want? So for that, what Yamunacharya states is that he says, Bhavantam evanucharan, what is that? He says, by following your instructions and by serving you, Bhavantam evanucharan, by serving the Supreme Lord and becoming his servant, what happens to a devotee? His real position is he becomes sanatha jivitam. He develops a state of living where he is sanatha. He always has a natha, a lord. He has a master. Now, what that means is, whoever is not surrendered to the Supreme Lord, he becomes anatha. He becomes without a master. Now, just like a small child is there. For a small child, let us say 5-year-old, 6-year-old child is there. For the child, is it good to be anatha or is it good to be sanatha? Will any person desire that I should be anatha, I should not have many parents? In my childhood, I should be completely free. My parents should die or they should abandon me, and then I'll be happy. A child will be unhappiest when he does not have his parents with him. If his loving parents are taking good care of him, then he is sanatha, the child is carefree, he has no worries in this world. Otherwise, for his food, for his clothing, for his education, everything, it is a big burden on his head if his parents are not taking care of him. Therefore, to be sanatha is a life of anxiety-free life. If we want to live a life full of anxiety and stress, then we can decide that I want to be independent and I want to do what I like to do. On the other hand, if I want to live a life of great bliss without any anxiety, then I need a life of sanatha jivitam. I need a life which is where I have a master's benedictory hand above my head all the time. So, to surrender means to become sanatha, to have a protective, loving parent, always taking care of our needs and taking care of our welfare all the time. So, a small child, if he thinks, no, I can take care of my welfare, that is foolishness. So, just because I have grown up a little, if I think, no, now I have become mature, I can think for myself. On the spiritual scale, we will always remain like small children. We don't have the maturity to take care of ourselves. So, therefore, we need to be sanatha. We need to have a person who will always constantly take care of our welfare and ensure that our well-being is always protected. And so therefore, for that, we need to become Sanatha. Even in this material world, if a person says, no, I am fully independent, I don't want anybody above me, still he has to subject himself to the laws of the country and to a government. You cannot be so independent that I don't want any government, I don't want anything. All the citizens are free to do whatever they want. There is no law, there is no government, there is no police, there is no army. You can imagine what kind of, it will become a society of animals and ruffians and barbarians. You will have only crime in such a society of anarchy. So, you can never become absolutely independent. Even in your material world, although you may say that I am independent, I want to be free and all that, still you need a Natha, you need a master of the government to ensure that your welfare is taken care, society is properly organized, there is proper law and order, your rights are protected. So, any condition of life, you need a Natha. Now, the question is, for my ultimate benefit and welfare, do I surrender to a Natha, to a master, a spiritual master, or not? If I don't surrender, then my spiritual welfare will not be taken care of, and I will only suffer on that account. So therefore, surrendering to the Supreme Lord and to the spiritual master is not a bad thing. It is the best thing that one can do. On the other hand, to remain independent and to be always free to do whatever one chooses and one likes to do is actually a situation of great misfortune. So therefore, the result of surrendering to the spiritual master and to Krishna, as Lord Vishnu is stating here, Mam Prapatsyase, we can attain to that Supreme Lord. So, such a great, wonderful fruit is going to come if we surrender and if we take shelter of the Supreme Lord by surrendering all the fruits of our acts to the Supreme Lord and implicitly following every instruction, whether one likes it or not. That is a great result one can get, the greatest result that one can get of the association of the Supreme Lord just by these two simple principles. So, therefore, we should all take shelter of Srila Prabhupada very seriously and follow all his instructions implicitly. And as long as we never come to a situation where, sorry, I cannot do that, I cannot follow your instructions, we can rest assured that we will very quickly progress and go back to Godhead. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss. So we'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.